The honourable member for Clare Digby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure if I should have to apologize to all those people out there in Ledge TV at this point in time. But, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to begin by saying...
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please. Caution the member to not address the public through the television. The member for Clare Digby.
Mr. Speaker, I certainly would like to apologize for that, although I'll say no more. I'd like to address the speech from the throne, the third session of the 67th General Assembly of the Nova Scotia Legislature that was brought forward to us October the 13th by His Honour Brigadier General the Honourable J.J. Grant, Lieutenant Governor. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to start by saying how proud I am to have represented the constituency of Clare Digby over the last 3 years. We've been able to achieve many things and help many people since we've been elected. Our Liberal platform continues to be seen throughout as well thought out and more so achievable. I would also like to extend my thanks to the Premier on behalf of the constituents of Clare Digby. Your leadership over the last 3 years has been recognized and appreciated by everyone that I have met on the street, on the doorsteps, and in the meetings. I would also like to congratulate all of my colleagues who have been elected to serve in this House of Assembly. You continue to be a source of inspiration and guidance to me. You continue to show the ability to maintain confidence of the voters you represent, and I congratulate you all. In preparing for speaking today, I reflected on my first address and reply. I took the time to review the key points that I made 3 years ago when I stood for the first time in this House. There were 5 key initiatives that I addressed that day: the electoral boundary review, out-migration, health care, Lavilla-Kedyen, and Highway 101. I would like to briefly touch on each of these and what I see as progress to date. The people of Clare still see the elimination of the Clare constituency as an overstepping of the former Attorney General's authority. We all know and remember that the elimination of the Clare riding did not reflect the will of the residents of Clare or the Boundary Review Commission. Mr. Speaker, there were requests made to the previous government to come to our communities and listen, but these requests were ignored. Mr. Speaker, I have listened. I have listened for the last 3 years to my constituents. Mr. Speaker, I will tell you today that the residents of Clare have not forgotten. I have recently had the privilege to attend and listen to the Supreme Court hearing regarding the charter challenge of the boundary review. We all know that in the months coming what their decision will be. We will also know for decades to come what was thought by the residents of Clare of the previous government and their actions. Mr. Speaker, this is how my riding came into existence. I was elected to represent the fine people of Clare Digby, and I will do each day and every day. As I rise today on behalf of the people of Clare, I do so with a lot of pride. Mr. Speaker, another area that I spoke of was out-migration of the citizens of our area. This was seen as the #1 threat to our rural economy. Many discussions were had with my colleagues and the Minister of Immigration in the first few months after being elected. I was extremely proud to talk of the good work our minister has done over the last 3 years. More immigrants have made Nova Scotia their home in the first 6 months of this year than all of the last 10 years. We have seen a total of 3,418 newcomers arrive in Nova Scotia between January and June of this year. This is slightly more than the 3,403 who arrived last year, which was a previous record year. Since December, we have welcomed more than 1,000 Syrian refugees. 3 families have settled in my area, and I am very proud of how the community has come together, welcomed them, and made them part of our community. A wonderful addition to our communities. Mr. Speaker, we have developed a new immigration pathway for international students who have a job offer from Nova Scotian employers. We have launched the new immigration stream called Nova Scotia Demand Express Entry. This will provide a faster route for more skilled immigrants to enter Nova Scotia in response to labour market demands. Mr. Speaker, we have entered into a new era as a result of the good work of the Minister of Immigration. We have finally stopped the population decline that has threatened our rural communities, and I would like to personally thank the Minister of Immigration for the tremendous work that she has done in that area. Mr. Speaker, health care has continued to be my major daily focus of work in the community. I believe we have finally found what is to be the answer to a health problem that has plagued Nova Scotians for decades. The new health authority has finally seen a way to move forward on a plan to build primary health care models across this province. The lack of doctors in the Digby area has gone on way too long. The lack of doctors in the Weymouth area has gone on way too long. The good work of the clinics that we have, and I have 5 of them, in Bear River, Freeport, Meteghan, Weymouth, and Digby, is a tremendous asset in our community. This is the result also of a lot of work that we will, by someone that we will someday recognize as our true champion in healthcare. Mr. Speaker, I would like to pass on my personal thanks to the Minister of Health for leading the way in the last 3 years. Many hurdles have been overcome. Many hurdles have been overcome for his work for generations to come. The development of a collaborative healthcare practice will ensure the stability and long-term solutions for doctor recruitment in rural underserviced areas. Mr. Speaker, the last 2 successive governments have promised the replacement of La Villa-Acadienne. And I might say they never followed through on those promises. The people were beginning to lose hope that this would never happen. One of my proudest moments was the commitment by our Premier to see this long-term care facility finally replaced. I know the process to have things such as this move through government are slow. I would like to thank the residents of my riding for their patience. Our commitment to have this facility replaced is happening as we speak, and I would like to thank our Premier and our government on behalf of the residents for their support. Mr. Speaker, I'll talk of another promise. Mr. Speaker, I would like again to comment on our promise regarding Highway 101. Again, this sat dormant for many years, decades. The people who live along this busy and dangerous section of road called a 100 Series highway truly appreciate the fact that work is commencing this winter, something that successive governments for decades never addressed. I am so pleased that this project is proceeding on time and will see ground broke this spring. The continuation of this highway is a necessary part of completing our 100 Series highways between Yarmouth and Halifax, which, by the way, is the only unfinished section of key 100 Series highways network in the entire province. Mr. Speaker, these are short summaries of the 5 key areas that I spoke of 3 years ago. Today, I'm here to tell you that we have worked hard and followed through on what we plan to do by action. These are things that the people of my riding can relate to. I am so very fortunate to have the support of my government, my ministers, and my Premier. Mr. Speaker, again, after 3 years, I would more than ever like to thank my wife for her continued support. Deidre, this job would be unbearable without you there to make each and every day one without guilt, as I would leave the house for long hours on end.
Order, please. I appreciate the sentiment of the honourable member, but please do not address directly someone who's outside the chamber. The honourable member for Clare Digby.
My apology, Mr. Speaker, again. I know that each and every member of this House can relate to this, and I truly pass on my thanks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have also been very blessed to have a loyal executive in my riding, which has supported me since being elected. It has been humbling to see how much time each and every one of my supporters took to get me elected and are working hard to get me re-elected. Mr. Speaker, a huge thanks to you, a huge thanks also to my two professional dedicated constituency assistants, the foundation and backbone of any MLA. I am blessed that I cannot thank them, and I cannot thank them enough for the service they provide to our citizens in every day that they come to their office. My gratitude also goes out to all the residents of the Clare Digby area who continue to make me feel welcome at the doors, at the community meetings, and my constituency office. They have trusted me to represent them, and my only fear is that I will ever let them down. It was with extreme pleasure that I listened to the speech from the throne. The initiatives mentioned around French language, first-time home buyers, adult learning, and broadband will have direct impacts on my riding and the province. I think myself and the people of Nova Scotia can take pride in not only our achievements, but what we have in store for the future. Mr. Speaker, I would like to again bring greetings to you from the residents of Clare Digby. I will not get into all the beauty that we have in our area. I will not get into all the amazing festivals and events that go on throughout the year. What I would like to do is mention that the area is more beautiful than it was 3 years ago, that we now have more events and festivals than ever before. We have seen very positive things in our resource sector, tourism, and overall optimism within the communities. These things continue to grow, and it is encouraging to see how our government has helped. Mr. Speaker, the lobster industry is alive and well in my riding. With the hard work of our harvesters, buyers, and exporters, we're nearing the goal One Nova Scotia has set of doubling in value our exports within a decade. Numbers have increased and have shown that in Nova Scotia exports hit $1.68 billion in 2015. A 33% increase over 2014. Since 2010, exports of lobsters to China has increased 14 times, reaching more than 5,700 metric tons in 2015. Lobsters continue to be the most valuable export for Nova Scotia. The good work of Riverside Lobster, Gidney Fisheries are just two examples of the positive growth we have seen in my area. New development on the Digby Wharf by Sean Everett is another example of the confidence business has in our resource sector. Mr. Speaker, aquaculture continues to be an opportunity in Nova Scotia when it is done right. The investment of $2.8 million in the industry will help with a more rigorous approach to improving new operations. This also assists by providing $2 million for research projects focused on interaction between sites and their local environment. Since the new regulations were introduced in October of 2015, the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture has appointed a Science Advisory Committee, tendered for equipment to help with environment and fish health monitoring, established a committee to recommend a workable approach to tracing escaped fish back to their origin, appointed an aquaculture administrator for approving leases and license renewals, and developed policies to improve the leases and licensing process. Mr. Speaker, this is but a few of the initiatives the Minister of Fisheries has brought forward to grow our opportunities. Our resource sector continues to be a major source of employment in my area. It has given back for rural Nova Scotia and continues to see opportunities grow. But it is also important for rural communities to see their resources give back to the communities they come from. Hopefully, with time, Mr. Speaker, we will see more opportunities and more of our resources processed directly in the communities they come from. Mr. Speaker, the first conversation I had with a constituent after being elected was regarding families who have children at risk for developmental delays. There were some major concerns regarding the provision of resources in this area. Mr. Speaker, families who have children at risk for developmental delays are now getting the program faster after improvements the Early Childhood Development and Intervention Program that were brought forward by the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development. The Minister of Education gets it and has worked quickly to improve this area. Before the review, the increased support from government, more than 300 families were waiting for early intervention services. These families are now receiving services, and new families will be seen within a month of being referred. This is a tremendous improvement. This is a tremendous improvement in access to service for children at risk. Thank you very much, Minister.
Order,
we have
please.
also seen
Order, please. Please direct your comments through the chair. Yeah. The honourable member for Clare Digby.
Mr. Speaker, I will attempt to keep my eyes on you. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Minister of Education. Mr. Speaker, we have also seen an additional $3.6 million per year to ensure that all preschool-age children with autism spectrum disorder can receive early intensive behavioral intervention and treatment before they start school at age 6. As a result of this, about 180 children with autism spectrum disorder each year will now be able to receive treatment that will help them to be more successful when they start school. Mr. Speaker, I cannot emphasize how this positively affects the lives of so many families in our province. Mr. Speaker, another huge investment by the Minister of Education is in our province's childcare. Support for child care centres has increased by $6.6 million. This is so they can prepare their children for school in a much better way. This will make child care more affordable for families by investing in higher subsidies, higher rates, and investing to address historically low wages for early childhood educators. Beginning this October, centres receiving provincial grant funding must pay early childhood educators based on the wage ranging from $15 to $19 per hour, depending on training. And, Mr. Speaker, beginning July 1st, families eligible for subsidies will pay less. Mr. Speaker, again, I'd like to thank the Minister of Education. Mr. Speaker, one of the major problems in my area is not necessarily the lack of jobs. It is more so a lack of workers. I have spoken to many employers who would expand if they had access to dependable sources of workers. We know that many of our good young people have left the province for years to go work elsewhere. Outmigration, overall in rural communities, as mentioned earlier, was one of the major threats to rural Nova Scotia. To complement the good work of the Minister of Immigration in retaining our youth was also an initiative led by the Minister of Labour and Advanced Education. The Graduate to Opportunities program was a major step in creating meaningful career opportunities. Nova Scotia Works was also an extremely important initiative to allow more frontline staff to be hired to focus on employment and engaging employers, client service, and outreach to schools. Mr. Speaker, I would certainly like to thank the Minister of Labour and Advanced Education also for her work that she has done. Mr. Speaker, we have been very fortunate to have excellent leadership, not only from our Premier, but from all of our ministers. I would like to thank them all individually for the work that they've done to make this province better. This has been 3 years of hard decisions made in the best interest of all Nova Scotians. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take a moment to comment on the importance of the Yarmouth to Portland ferry to our province. The people remember very well the impact that this had on the entire province when the service was cut out from underneath of us. I can cite many stories from tourism operators to nonprofit organizations that suffered from the loss of this vital link. The Minister of Transportation did a tremendous job to manage the contract we inherited from the previous government and plan towards a better solution. The current operation of the Yarmouth to Portland ferry is just one reason that we have seen substantial increases in our tourists this year. Bay Ferries operated in my riding for decades and is a professional part of the key transportation link between Digby and St. John. The partnering with Bay Ferries is not only logical, but builds on opportunities for the entire region. Their understanding of our province and how to make it work will be the best solution for the future. The only concerns I have heard in my area is regarding the negative campaign carried out by the Leader of the Opposition and his colleagues. This type of negative messaging has nothing to offer but hollow words and no substance. I will tell you now that we have in place a good contract and a good relationship, which are key to moving forward, something we rarely have seen from previous governments. Mr. Speaker, we continue to see the opportunities for tidal development as the waters of Bay of Fundy rise and fall each day. The creation of the Marine Renewable Resource Act by the Minister of Energy is forefront in leading this sector. I have kept close contact with everyone involved in the industry and with the regulators. As things continue to develop, I am confident that there will be a good balance found between environmental concerns and the interested stakeholders. This is an extremely important area that can provide many valuable skilled labour opportunities for the Clare-Digby area. My involvement will ensure everyone in my community understands the initiatives, the issues, and the real parts of the story as we move forward. Mr. Speaker, I am a lucky man to have such a wonderful area to represent. From Scallop Days to the Acadian Festival to the Wharf Rat Rally, our area continues to see growth in our festivals and events. The whale watching on Digby Neck and the islands has never been better. World class at the very least. I am a very lucky MLA to be part of this government. But, Mr. Speaker, that does not mean that we still need to work hard. More than ever, I have heard that things are very complex. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned in my first address and reply, with different backgrounds and aspirations, there is a uniqueness within each person. Therefore, there is no one-size-fits-all solutions to the many needs facing the citizens of Clare-Digby and the province to that end. Mr. Speaker, after 3 years, I continue to see the impression that government is perceived like some extraterrestrial power capable of solving all of the problems of the province. I more so than ever believe it is our duty as elected representatives here in this House to remind citizens that government exists to serve. It is important, I believe, that we spare no effort to continue to remind all of us in this House that government is an institution that is shaped by us all, elected and non-elected, to serve. We're all part of government. Everyone has a role in shaping government, not the least casting a vote on Election Day. More than ever, we need to remember that there is more to a democratic government than cabinet, caucus, opposition, departments, and agencies. For good government, we need a constant interaction between all stakeholders, human interaction, and fellowship at all levels. Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind everyone that while we might not have a perfect government system, nor has anyone who has come before us have ever had one either, but what we do have in place now allows for input from Nova Scotians to keep government in close check and provide guidelines for private citizens. We must also not forget that human activity can't be regulated without judgment by humans. To the people of Digby County, I continue to owe you the privilege to sit in this Assembly. Mr. Speaker,
Order,
to
please.
you and all the members
Order, please. Order. I'd like to remind the member not to refer to you, to direct your comments to the chair. Order. Order, please. The member for Clare Digby.
I was 2 lines away from finishing. Mr. Speaker, I continue to owe the privilege to sit in this Assembly. Mr. Speaker, to you and all the members of this Assembly, I invite you to visit the people of Clare Digby sometime soon. Thank you very much.